Oh, welcome into a daily editorial here on the KE Report. Happy to report that I am chatting with Jordan Roy-Byrne. He is the founder and editor of the Daily Gold. And if anybody has missed some of Jordan's recent calls pretty much this year, Jordan has been spot on for the metals sector, also helping his subscribers catch a short and book some nice gains for the move down that we have seen in the metals sector. Let's talk about some of the movements that we're seeing today, though, Jordan. We have gold up, although just slightly, and it is pulling back a little bit from its highs, but we're not seeing the metal stocks share in those gains. We actually have GDX and GDXJ down right about 1%. What's that disconnect further telling you today when we see gold up, but the stocks still not sharing in any of these gains?
Well, it's a great question, Corey, and that is never a good thing when you see that. That just shows how weak the sector is. And we got really oversold several weeks ago, and we made a low in August. And that rebound after yesterday, basically, we can deem it a failure. Well, at least yesterday we saw GDX close at a new low, and today we're going to see GDXJ, which has been a little bit stronger. Today it's going to close at a new low. So we've taken out the August lows, and that also happened yesterday in silver. Now, gold is still holding around 1,200. I think its low is 1167. So gold is not in any danger of going below 1167, at least in the next day or two, we could say. But this is in very weak markets. This is the kind of action that you tend to see, like the riskier parts of the sector really underperform badly. And so in precious metals, gold is strongly outperforming or holding up much better than the stocks and silver, which today, as of yesterday, now today with GDXJ, they're breaking down to new lows. So that's definitely bearish. However, Corey, the fact that, we were extremely oversold just a couple weeks ago, and now that rally attempt has failed, we're getting even more oversold. So I think that even though I think we're probably going to see lower prices in the next few days, I think that this next round of weakness is one that you want to be buying. I think it's going to be setting up a pretty good counter trend rally to the upside.
Okay, I find that very interesting that you're saying that you are going to be trying to catch the long side of this bounce when it comes, because in all fairness, you have been, not very excited about any bounces that could have come in the last couple months. That's turned out to be the right call because the sector just continued to sell off. But when you take into account that of the last 13 trading weeks, gold has been down 10 of those last 13, that's a pretty dire situation that the metal is in. And something that you and I talked about was the fact that in these oversold scenarios, the potential sometimes is just a sideways movement for certain sectors to work off these oversold scenarios. Why do you think that now we're more likely to get a bounce rather than a sideways movement?
Well, it's an excellent question, Corey. I think looking at it's an issue of the market getting extremely oversold and then it approaching very strong support. Now, obviously, with respect to GDX, the December lows are very strong support, and we did not rally as much as I anticipated from that low. But if GDX is trading at 1788 right now. When we got bearish 2 months ago or whenever, there was this massive topping formation in GDX from roughly 25 down to support at 21 or a little bit below that. Well, when I looked at the exact figures, the breakdown from that topping pattern has a measured downside target of roughly about 16.5. So I'm not saying GDX is going to bottom here and now. I wouldn't be a buyer immediately. However, its measured downside target from this pattern is 16.5. And so if GDX gets down to that level, it's going to be extremely oversold. And also, if you look back over the last 3 or 4 years, if you look at some charts, you can see that right around that level is going to be strong support. So the combination of those factors leads me to believe that we're likely to see a pretty good rally from around 16.5. And also, I'll just mention, if we look at breadth indicators like the advanced decline line and also the new highs minus new lows, what I'm looking for, Corey, is a positive divergence. I'm looking for those indicators to not make new lows. So when they make their next low below 17, I'm looking for those indicators to not surpass what they did during the August low. So those breadth indicators could be showing a positive divergence. And so that would be a good sign signaling that, yes, the sector is really oversold, but when you see a positive divergence, when the sector is extremely oversold, that can also signal a bottom. So those things, but the real key is that 16.5 target, Corey. That's really what I'm looking at. So if GDX gets down to that level, and also there's some room to rally. Remember, when GDX broke below 21, Corey, people were saying that it was extremely oversold at 20 and then 19 and 18. But from that point, there wasn't that much room to rebound because it had just broken down from 20.5 or 21. So when GDX was at 19, I mean, realistically, it could only rally up to 20.5 or even 21 in the absolute best case scenario. Now that it's getting that much more oversold, down to potentially 16.5, from there, it has, at least 10, 15%. Maybe it's going to rally 20%. It has more room to rally. So for those reasons are why I'm expecting a good counter trend bounce. But again, GDX is at 1788 right now. It needs to sell off a little bit more before I really want to hit the buy button.
Okay, so waiting for GDX to get down to about that 1650, but then as you said, the rally that could be at hand, 15 to 20%, that looks to me to be taking it right up to that breakdown level of about 20.5 to 21. Is that kind of the target that you have for this type of a rebound, or is there a potential that we break that level and maybe get back into that trading range we were in all of last year?
No, I think that's, obviously we're projecting ahead here, but I think that's too optimistic. What I'm looking at is the August highs that we did I'm looking 6 or 7 trading days ago. So GDX around 19.5, and for GDXJ, I mean, GDXJ is below 27 now. It could bottom around 25, maybe a little bit above, maybe a little bit below in the mid 24s. The target for GDX is stronger, but the peak in GDXJ is at 29. So if GDXJ could rally from, let's say, 24.5 up close to 29, and again for GDX, mid 16s to perhaps the mid 19s where that August peak was. So I know I'm rambling on, but the one sentence answer would be my upside target for the rally would be the August peaks that we saw, I think, on the 28th, before we had that bearish reversal.
Now, what about an assessment of silver too, Jordan? Because silver continues to be relatively weak. It's much like those gold stocks that continue to sell off, trading at 52-week lows, really broken below any sort of range that you can even project back into 2016. What do you look to now for silver?
It's very interesting, Corey, because silver coming into today, I know it's up a little bit. It was only 3% away from its low at the end of 2015. At the time when gold bottomed at 1040 an ounce, silver bottomed at a closing low of 1365. Yesterday, I think silver closed at 1406. So that's only 3% away from that low, that double bottom target. However, the triangle breakdown in silver projects down to, I want to say, the high 12. So it's interesting because unlike GDX, there's the really strong target is actually below the really strong support. So that makes silver a little bit interesting. I think the sector is so oversold that I don't think, silver's trading just above 14. I don't think there's risk that it's going to hit that target in the high 12s anytime soon. But it's only, as I said, it's only 3% away from that late 2015 double bottom low. So I mean, I don't know if silver is going to bottom after it declines 3%, 6%, 5%. I really don't know, but I do think there's a little more. I mean, there's always uncertainty with markets, but just with silver, there's a little bit more uncertainty to me as far as when this, when the next oversold rally is going to begin. But again, it looks like it could happen, really soon, anytime from the next couple days to the next couple weeks. And I will say the net spec position in silver, it's at an all-time low, meaning actually the first time ever. We saw in the last report, we saw commercials are actually net long. So for the first time ever, the speculators are net short. However, Corey, we've talked about this before in recent weeks and months. Speculators, they follow the trend. So gold and silver in a primary downtrend, they're not going to pile on long positions the way they did in 2016 or even 2017 when the market was going sideways. But even with that being said, it's still a good setup for silver. I mean, I think we're likely to see some short covering. So I think there's also a potential bullish trade in silver, but with GDX, it looks a little bit more predictable to me, but we'll see. Maybe silver will give us, a really good reversal at that double bottom, and then that might be something I might jump on too to play the upside.
All right, Jordan, we're going to wrap it up here, but I find this very noteworthy that you have a bit more of a bullish outlook or a bit more positivity for this next bounce that's coming, because as I said, you did kind of call this whole move down, even when everyone was saying, look at how oversold it is, look at the sentiment numbers, it's due for a bounce. You were a bit more skeptical, but now things seem to be setting up a little bit better. Hopefully we do get that bounce, and hopefully that bounce actually gets some more excitement into the sector, but there's a lot of work to be done after that sell-off that we have seen. Again, Jordan is the founder and editor of The Daily Gold. Be sure to check out his website for all your precious metals and some other resource commentary. Jordan, it's always great chatting with you. I hope you have a great rest of your week.